so caught up in the day-to-day, just keeping your head down and how we can survive. We float by each other like ghosts every day. We go into the struggle, the fight with one another, complacent with the fact that our systems are broken, with the fact that the top 10 will always be first in line, the fact that we are killing our planet and allowing them to keep us divided. We must stand together and rise up. It's time we wake up, and that is a difficult truth.
Hey everyone, Carlos here from ADifficultTruth. I apologize about that. We were having some technical difficulties there. But welcome to today's podcast. Today is Thursday morning, so I hope you guys are joining me here with a cup of coffee and get ready to discuss today's topic, which is climate change. Before we get started, we're going to be going over some of the headlines. I know I didn't do the stream on Sunday, so I do apologize. So we got a few things to cover. Climate change is something that is very near and dear to me. I mean, I grew up with Steve Irwin, Fern Gully. So, I mean, the planet, the trees, animals, all that is extremely important and probably one of the biggest reasons why I decided to join the progressive movement in the first place. But let's go over some of today's topics over some of the recent headlines. Before we get into that, if you guys go to the ADifficultTruth channel page on Twitch, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, or for those of you that are listening on SoundCloud, I'll leave the links in the description below. If you go to my page there, you'll see a donate button. When you click on the donate button, it will actually take you to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. It's a very, very good and very credible charity. So if you guys want to donate to that, that's the link right there. If anything, you guys can share the link. I mean, that would mean the world to me. So just getting the word out there helps a lot too. And also, we are trying to revamp and relaunch our website. We haven't done anything on this website for quite some time, and we actually got the stream to show up. So if you don't even have a Twitch account or anything like that, you can still at least look and listen to the stream. Oh, thank you so much for the follow, that dude 46. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. So yeah, you can also check it out on the website ADifficultTruth.com. I'll start putting all that on the channel page. But anyways, we're going to go over some of the topics today. Apparently, Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is getting very triggered. The poor snowflake, that he's getting called Moscow Mitch. Apparently, you know, not all his nicknames trigger him, but this one in particular does. And the reason why is because I'll go over this article again for those of you that are listening. This is from The Hill. It's Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is under fire from Democrats for repeatedly blocking election security legislation in recent days. He's done this multiple times, and for someone who is so worried about election fraud from the Democrats, you would think that this guy would be in favor of election security, but he's blocked it twice. And now it just happens also to be a coincidence that he gets money from the two biggest companies that make election ballot machines or whatever. Just a coincidence that he happens to get that. But we'll go over this article. The simmering anger among Senate Democrats reached a boiling point this week when McConnell blocked two attempts to pass election bills shortly after former special counsel Robert Mueller warned that foreign governments will interfere in the 2020 elections. We'll get into the whole Mueller thing very briefly. Because again, I didn't do the stream last Sunday, so we'll get into that just very briefly. We're not going to let Leader McConnell put the bills passed by the House into his legislative graveyard without a fight. You're going to hear from us on this issue over and over again. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said on the Senate floor. I mean, this guy is kind of a spineless leader, to be honest. I don't think that he's done much, but if he can keep fighting, that's great. Senator Ron Wyden, a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, called Mitch McConnell Russia's biggest ally in its meddling efforts, while Senator Dick Durbin, Schumer's number 2, accused the GOP leader of abdicating his responsibility to protect American democracy so he can protect the president who unravels it day by day. And Democrats are hitting McConnell, who is up for re-election next year. Please keep in mind that if you are in Kentucky, to remember that he is up for re-election and that he is just absolutely does not care about America at all. In fact, is willing to let foreign adversaries meddle in our elections. Who's up for re-election next year from all angles, showdowns on the floor, press conferences, and an endless barrage of tweets. Their ultimate goal, they say, is to try to force McConnell to move legislation, or at least go on the record blocking bills heading into 2020. This is McConnell's response. McConnell fired back in a series of tweets Friday night. It's really sad that now we do policies over tweets. I mean, I think it's, I guess it's in the age of social media, but I don't know. I just think it's a little ridiculous on any side. Doesn't matter. McConnell fired back in a series of tweets Friday night while seeking to raise money for his campaign, saying Democrats' Russian conspiracy theories against President Trump hit a dead end during the Mueller hearing, and now, like a failed doomsday cult that predicted the end of the world, the liberal grifters need a fresh target. Mitch, oh no, you made yourself a target, my dude. You made yourself a target. And the thing is, there's no real conspiracy theories. Robert Mueller, not only in his report, but he confirmed it at the hearing that, yeah, there were Russian attempts to meddle in our elections. This is not news. So I don't know what his issue is. One of the bills pushed by Senate Democrats would require the use of paper ballots and boost election funding. The other would mandate that candidates, campaign officials, and family members notify the FBI of assistance offers from foreign governments. I thought that was already the rule. The House has sent. I mean, I think the head of the Federal Elections Commission stated that you definitely cannot take any type of aid from foreign governments or anything like that. I mean, it should be common sense that you can't do that, but in the age of Trump, we have to kind of spell that out, I guess. The House has sent the Senate 2 major election security bills since the Democrats regained the majority earlier this year, but both have been sidelined by McConnell. McConnell's blockade went viral Friday after MSNBC host and former GOP lawmaker Joe Scarborough, can't pronounce his name, repeatedly referred to the GOP leader as Moscow Mitch. And that is what's triggering Mitch McConnell, which I think is absolutely hilarious again. So make sure you make that popular. Hashtag Moscow Mitch and get this guy out of office. Clearly, he doesn't care about election security. Clearly, he doesn't care about our democracy, because at the end of the day, this kind of nonsense only helps Republicans. And if he really wants to talk about election fraud, if he really wants to go down that road, yesterday or the day before, the guy Dowles, the Republican operative, I can't pronounce his name, Dowles, he's being charged with federal offenses in regards to the election fraud that happened in North Carolina. The new elections that were ordered are scheduled to be in September, but that guy was a Republican operative working basically to help the Republican Party win that race, that House race, and they did by a very, very razor-thin margin. I mean, if you want to talk about election fraud, make sure you check your own party, Mitch McConnell, because there was no election fraud on the Democratic side, but on the Republican side, there's a guy going to federal, possibly, allegedly, gonna go to prison for this. So why not address that issue? As we know, so the next topic, the next headline we're going to talk about, as we know, Robert Mueller went to testify in front of 2 committees. I didn't really make a video on this because, I mean, there's nothing new, nothing to see. If anyone expected to be wowed, or if anyone expected a bombshell to really drop on the whole Robert Mueller testimony, sadly, you'd be disappointed. But it is confirmed, not that we needed this, but it is confirmed that, number one, the president is not totally exonerated. He said it not only in his report, but he confirmed it verbally. He confirmed it publicly. Everyone saw it. And that indeed there are not just Russians, but there are other countries attempting to mess with our elections. And he did confirm that, yes, the Trump administration did not collude effectively with Russia or any other country or foreign adversary or whatever, but there are obvious evidence of him. I'm sorry, there are obvious evidence of countries trying to mess in our elections. So it's very important that that is noted, and it begs the question why Mitch McConnell would bury those 2 bills. He also said that there are multiple instances where President Trump did obstruct justice, did attempt to slow or derail or even fire Robert Mueller because he was being investigated. I mean, that's clear and obvious obstruction of justice. More than enough to begin impeachment inquiries, in my opinion. We didn't even need the Mueller report to begin with, but this really confirms, and this should show the American people that this whole exoneration thing, totally exonerated, is just BS. We know that. I mean, he went on a whole totally exonerated exoneration tour, saying that it was a great day for him. He said that you're not totally exonerated. There is substantial evidence of obstruction of justice, and it's just infuriating that Democrats have not taken any action. But moving on to the next headline, the Robert Mueller hearings were extremely important, only in the sense that not a lot of people really read the report. It's over 400 pages. A lot of it's redacted, and I think it's important to bring, whatever the important details are to light. I mean, literally the first set of questions from Jerry Nadler was, did you totally exonerate the president? No. Did he have multiple instances of obstruction of justice? Yes, it's all in the report. And Robert Mueller just kept saying it's all in the report. But I mean, obviously the point was just to bring that to light. The next headline was, obviously, yesterday and the day before were the second Democratic debate, again divided into 2 nights, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. There's just way too many people running. I did a video on the first debate. Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren were definitely on fire. Really happy with their performance. And honestly, John Delaney, please just go home, man. Just go home. And invoking Ronald Reagan's name, just go home. Hickenlooper, go home. Tim Ryan, please go home. Anyone who's polling 1%, no, less than 1%, 2%, 3%. I mean, I think it's pretty much safe to say that your shot is gone. I think it should just be cut to top 4. I mean, I did a whole video on that. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll be able to see it. But the second debate, or rather the second night of the debate, we had Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on the same stage again, and it just seemed like everybody was dogpiling Joe Biden again. And they clearly see him, for some odd reason, as the threat, which by all means is really good, because that means that they're chipping away at Joe Biden's lead, and it'll be easier or more probable that one of the two leading progressives, either Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, get a better shot. So by all means, just keep railing on Joe Biden, keep attacking each other in terms of the corporate Democrats. But it seems to me like in the second night, nobody understood or nobody understands Medicare for all. I mean, we have Kamala Harris implementing or rolling out her plan. She calls it Medicare for all. It's obviously not Medicare for all. There is still room for private insurance to have a role, and I think that's just a non-starter. First of all, second of all, it's going to take 10 years to roll out. No, because a president can only be in power for a maximum of 8 years, and when the next person takes power, it's up to them whether or not to finish it. So I think that's just a ridiculous idea. She doesn't understand Medicare for all. I think, well, maybe she does, but I think she's just being trying to kind of implant herself using these terms, these terms Medicare for all, which are very popular, to her advantage. So kind of disingenuous, if you ask me. Joe Biden is still trying to defend the Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. The guy just doesn't get it. The guy just doesn't get it. He keeps going on about how people lose insurance and how they love their insurance companies, and look at all these people going off their insurance companies and these poor insurance companies. What are we going to do? We have no room for insurance companies, if you ask me. Affordable Care Act was a failure. It could have been better. It could have, the way it was originally written, maybe it could have worked. But when it was implemented, I mean, these things were written by insurance companies. Anything that involves a for-profit option for healthcare just doesn't work, period. It just doesn't work. I am a progressive. I believe there is room for capitalism in society. However, there also needs to be some kind of common sense. When it comes to things like healthcare, how are you going to trust corporations who only care about making money to take care of people's health? They're not there to take care of your health. They're there to make profit. They're there to make the numbers for their shareholders. So there's just absolutely no room for corporations in terms of healthcare, in my opinion. The same goes for the environment. I mean, why isn't there enough regulations regarding the environment? Which we're gonna get all into that, but I mean, it's just crazy that people now, the Democratic Party, there are candidates running for president on the Democratic Party, still trying to save a dying Obamacare, or thinking that private companies still have a role in healthcare. They do not. They're just there to make money, and it's immoral. Okay, so let's move on to the next headline. Let me go ahead and pull that up here. Oh. So, was it? No, it was a couple days ago. There was a mass shooting in California, and like 3 kids died. Some dude went in there with a AK-47 style weapon and just lit the place up. Luckily, there was a large police presence there, and took the guy out within minutes. But this mass shooting was just one. This week. There was another mass shooting, and it just constant every week. I mean, the news doesn't even. I had trouble finding the headline today, even though it just happened a couple of days ago, or maybe last week. I can't remember. It is still early in the morning, so I apologize. But I was trying to look for the headline, and it's not there anymore. I mean, is this how desensitized we've become? That the fact that kids are literally dying over something that could be very easily, or rather, has a higher chance of being preventable, and yet nothing is being done. I'm not advocating for the government to start taking away guns, because that's how usually the right takes it. As soon as you even make the notion of gun regulation, gun control, it's just everyone gets up all in arms about the Second Amendment. Look, I support the Second Amendment. 100%. It's in the Constitution. But I mean, at what point? At what point? How many mass shootings is it gonna take? There's one every week. There's one every other day, it seems to me. And it's to the point where the news doesn't even report it. I mean, it's really sad. It's a tragedy, to be honest. That we've gotten to this point where, you know, multiple people are dying, and the news barely. I mean, the news right now is all about the debate, and it's really not much other than that. I was trying again. I do apologize. I was trying to look for that headline, but it's not there anymore. It's not there in the front page. I thought it would still be talked about. But I'm not going to mention the guy's name. He just went in there. He broke into the garlic festival, cutting the wires, and just started lighting up the place. It's really sad, and it's really sad for the victims, the kids who died. It just blows my mind how nothing serious has been done. And what's even more tragic is that the guy was able to obtain this weapon in a state with looser gun laws. That would not have happened in California. They just would not have been able to obtain that weapon. And again, I support the Second Amendment. I support the right to be able to defend yourself, but what do you need to defend yourself from with an AK-47 rifle? It's just ridiculous to me, in my opinion. But those are just some of the important headlines that I thought are worth discussing. Let's get into today's main topic, which is climate change. And like I was saying earlier, climate change is honestly one of the biggest issues for me, in my opinion. In fact, it's probably one of the biggest reasons why I became or I joined the progressive movement. Because honestly, we're in the for the lack of a better word, because this will be going up on YouTube, the snap moment. We've had that for years now, and nobody seems to be doing anything about it in terms of government. Now, people are saying, well, why do you have to rely on the government? Why is the government so important? Why do we need the government? We should be able to take care of this ourselves. Yes, it's important that we do things as an individual. I try my best to be very mindful of what I buy. I try to be, I try to recycle. I try to educate people. I try to even, tell my family members to recycle. And sure enough, I mean, we recycle a lot, a lot, and it's still not enough. If our whole entire block, if our whole entire building decided to recycle, it's still not enough. I mean, what are you gonna do when just one corporation dumps tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of trash because they're allowed to? There's no regulation. So yeah, at some point you do need government to get involved. But climate change, again, is something that is extremely near and dear to me. Like I was saying earlier, I grew up with Steve Irwin. I grew up watching Fern Gully, which, if you guys don't know, it's a very, very powerful movie for a kid. It really impacted me, and it just really teaches you to appreciate nature, to take care of the animals, the trees, and be mindful. And it's important because there's no there's nowhere else to go. Where are you gonna go? There's no other at this time. We haven't developed the technology to go to other planets, and if so, why would we want to just go over and destroy other planets? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. If we want to leave a better planet for our children's, maybe even our children's, because right now we don't know when the full effects are going to start happening. It just depends on us, really. Scientists have said it could be early as 2030 we might start seeing stuff. It could be 2050. It could be 100 years from now. We don't know the exact ramifications of when we'll start seeing the full-blown effects, because we still keep pumping out carbon and greenhouse gases. We still keep just razing to the ground hundreds of acres of forest. So we don't know how much what that effect is going to be and when it's going to hit. But we do know is that time is running out. We do know that it is a real problem, and we do know that it is man-made. Let me pull up a video that I want to show you guys. I think it's a very powerful video. This is the young climate activist Greta Thunberg. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She did something a couple weeks ago, and she did a speech a couple weeks ago, and I think it's just absolutely
it's summertime.
Absolutely powerful. And it's sad and embarrassing that a 13-year-old has more sense than most of the world's governments. It's just really sad. But let's go ahead and take a listen here. Let me pull that up for you. This is Greta Thunberg at the French Parliament.
As a small number of people have been saying lately, will not end in 11 years. The bad news, however, is that around the year 2030, if we continue with business as usual, we will likely be in a position where we may pass a number of tipping points, and then we might no longer be able to undo the irreversible climate breakdown. A lot of politicians, business leaders, journalists say they don't agree with what we're saying. They say we children are exaggerating, that we are alarmists. And not once, not one single time have I heard any politician, journalist, or business leader even mention these numbers.
And she's correct. I mean, it's not that the world, like, some people are trying to play this off as, you know, trying to make fun of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, saying, hey, we need to start doing something or it's gonna start ending in 12 years. No, that's how much time we have before it's irreversible. At this point, I believe scientists are already starting to say that we need to not just be carbon neutral, we need to start reversing it, because it's just the degree of screwed we are. It's just like, it's just ridiculous that no serious politician is taking this seriously. I mean, just there's literally a handful that understand the problem, and everybody else just seems to not care.
It is almost like you don't even know they exist. As if you haven't even read the latest IPCC report on which the future...
It just seems like every week you get like worse and worse and worse climate news. I mean, the media always likes to be sensational. I understand that, but it's one of the few times that it kind of needs to be alarmist. It's one of the few times that the media needs to be exaggerated. because we need to start moving our butts as quickly as possible. There's a lot of headlines, oh, now it's 18 months or 12 years, and the media is like sensationalizing this whole climate change thing. Yeah, I think that is one of the few times the media needs to kind of be like that to light a fire under our butts, but it doesn't seem to be moving some of these politicians, particularly on the right.
Of our civilization is depending. Or maybe you are simply not mature enough to tell it like it is.
That's funny.
Because even that burden you leave to us children.
Absolutely correct. What legacy do we leave our children's children? Again, it just depends on how we act, but it may be our children's 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 children. How would they look back on us? What are they gonna say? Like, did you do something? Did they do something? Why didn't they do anything? That's what they're gonna be looking back on us for, and judging us.
We become the bad guys who have to tell people these uncomfortable things because no one else wants to or dares to. And just for quoting and acting on these numbers, these scientific facts, we receive unimaginable amounts of hate and threats. We are being mocked and lied about by elected officials, members of parliaments, business leaders, journalists. You can't simply make up your own facts just because you don't like what you hear. There is no middle ground when it comes to the climate and ecological emergency. Now political leaders in some countries are starting to talk. They are starting to declare climate emergencies and announcing dates for so-called climate neutrality. And
Golden Controls, welcome to the stream. Who is the girl? This is climate activist Greta Thunberg. She made like waves a couple like years back, when she was like a very little girl. She was probably 11 at the time, and she just like made huge waves by like, going up to politicians and being like, hey, you're not doing anything, you're leaving this stuff to us. And now she's a little bit older, she's like 13, and she's going around and giving speeches about climate change. In fact, she is actually coming to the US to give a speech on climate change. Although in this situation, I don't know who will hear her, but I admire her. I admire her for being so mature at 13 years old. I mean, even I wasn't like that. So very, very admirable.
Declaring a climate emergency is good. The real danger is when companies and politicians are making it look like real action is happening, when in fact almost nothing is being done, apart from clever accounting and creative PR. The climate and ecological emergency is right here, right now. But it has only just begun. It will get worse. In fact, since I started this speech, the world has emitted about 800,000 tons of carbon dioxide. Some people have chosen not to come here today.
I suspect I know who those are.
Some people have chosen not to listen to us. And that is fine. We are, after all, just children. You don't have to listen to us. But you do have to listen to the united science, the scientists. And that is all we ask. Just unite behind the science. Merci.
The sad part is people still think that there's like some false dichotomy, that there's a dispute, between scientists. No. There's an overwhelming agreement that this is an issue. This has been an issue for decades. In fact, this goes, the alarm bells have been ringing since the JFK administration. Golden Control says, that was my thought. Who in the U.S. politics will hear her? honestly, you could probably count them on one hand. That's the sad truth. But, you know, this is the kind of response we get from the right. Let me go ahead.
Here he is
and,
dipping his webbed.
Let me go ahead and pull up this video. This is from Bomber Guy. I mean, the guy is really spot on. Really spot on guy. He does great videos. So make sure you check him out if you don't already. But this is like the epitome of what the right thinks about climate change. Here we have the right-wing intelligentsia personified.
Here he is dipping his webbed flippers into the pool of climate change with his signature Shapiro intellect.
So let's say, for the sake of argument, that all
I know this video gets played a lot, but it just never gets old. I just love H-Bomber's response, to be honest.
all of the water levels around the world rise by let's say 5 feet over the next 100 years, say 10 feet by the next 100 years, and it puts all the low-lying areas on the coast underwater, right? Which, let's say all of that happens. You think that people aren't going to just sell their homes and move?
Just one small problem. Sell their houses to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman!
Here he is.
Oh man, that is literally my reaction when people attempt to just like so blatantly deny science like this. It just really makes you want to just like scream at the wall, like seriously. It's that aggravating, to be honest. Golden Control says, my husband's family is in Puerto Rico and we are very well aware of the rising water levels. Of course, and this is gonna keep happening. I mean, I live in beautiful South Florida. How long is it before I find myself underwater? oh, hold on. Ben's got the answer. I'm just gonna sell my home. And I'll be good to go. I'm pretty sure there's a market for underwater homes. It just makes you seriously want to just bang your head against the wall when you have overwhelming evidence that this is a problem and nobody is listening. Nobody's listening. Nobody cares. And the reality is, they don't care, not because they don't know. I suspect that all these politicians, these leaders, not just in the U.S., but all around the world, I suspect that they know. I suspect that they understand. This is not a 13-year-old is going around the world making speeches about this. I'm pretty sure that the adults understand, so to speak. I mean, of course, not everybody, but I suspect that a majority of them do. I suspect that people in Congress, people in the Senate, not just in the US, but in Parliament, in other places around the world, they understand the importance of it. They understand the ramifications of it. Why the heck is there no action? Well, because the fossil fuel industry, big agriculture, big tech companies that need to exploit these resources, need to exploit the planet to the point of destroying it. They can't have any kind of regulations. It interferes with profit. But here's my response to that. If you're so worried about profit, if you're so worried about your precious oil empire, why don't you take your trillions of dollars, hear me out, I know this is a radical concept, a radical idea. Why don't you take your trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars and invest and make the next generation of energy? Why not innovate? Why not create a bunch of jobs in the next in the new era of green energy, in the new era of affordable solar, wind, hydroelectric power, geothermal power, nuclear power. Why don't you invest in that and create with your money the next energy? Isn't that the whole point of capitalism, to continue to forward your business and make it future proof and continue to bring in the bucks? You can still do that. You can still do that and not be a bad person to the planet. I mean, I don't get it. It just seems like greed and the inability to just see the future. It just really blows my mind, because you could do something. What is your stance on big business? I think that it needs to be regulated. I think it needs to be regulated, and I think it needs to be brought down to its knees to understand to understand the gravity of climate change. I mean, you have one company, one single plant of a company destroying an entire ecosystem. That's just one building destroying an entire ecosystem, and that is an anecdote from Costa Rica. If you don't know anything about Costa Rica is one of the most environmentally strict countries. And up there's a company, or rather down there's a company called Tico Fruit, and just one plant, and they're a huge company over there. Just one plant destroyed an entire river, to the point where they were killing not only all the fish, but they were killing all the animals drinking from that river as well. It literally took Greenpeace, which, by the way, as an anecdotal story, my parents went in there as tour guides and videotaped everything and sent it to Greenpeace, and then the government had to step in and say, no, not only are you not going to do this, you're going to clean up the river. And lo and behold, we have the river's been restored, kind of. It's doing way better. So my stance on big business is they have to be regulated, and they have an obligation to understand the ramifications of what they do. Hey, Dark Mages, welcome to the stream. Good morning. Thank you. I hope you're enjoying the morning. We are drinking some coffee and talking about climate change. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, they absolutely have to be regulated. They absolutely have to consider the damage that they're doing. And if not, then the regulations should be harsh. Should be harsh, especially when it comes to the climate. If you want to get a grasp of how screwed this situation is, check out this graph over here. Okay, so this is the normal cycle of the Earth. As we know, some of the right-wing talking points are, oh, well, this is just what happens. You know, the Earth gets warm and then it cools and then yes, that is true. We can actually see it. This is from hundreds and thousands of years ago. We can see the Earth's breathing, if you want to call it that. We can see the Earth breathing. And then we get to the more modern levels. I don't know if you can see. Actually, let me pull it up here. Let me pull it up on the big screen so that we can see it properly. Okay. That little section was how the Earth is normally breathing up and down. This is the 1950 level. This is the current level. I mean, this is crazy. Over the average, I guess, would be 300 parts per million, was at its highest point, even up to the 1950s. Now, in just a short time, we're approaching almost 420 parts per million. That is crazy, just the stark, rise, and how it increased in that short amount of time. I mean, one can only imagine what it's going to be like in 10 years. It's probably going to be like up to here, I would say, at that rate. And that just can't continue. It's just not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. Just logically, going back to the big business part, logically speaking, I mean, do you just not care if there's no earth for you to keep holding your money? I mean, I'm sorry, but at this point in time, your billions of dollars is not going to buy you another planet. So, don't you want to keep your business as long as possible? It just doesn't make any sense. It's just all greed, and short-term profit. Whatever makes the shareholders happy right now, and that honestly has to stop. It is like, it's super immoral. And what kind of again, if you're just so worried about your profits, what kind of empire are you going to leave your children? There's not going to be a planet for them. Dark Magus says, the idea with the environment, though, is that it goes with the saying that you do not know what you have until you lose it. And mankind is too greedy, focusing each day about the dollar amounts that goes into their pockets, rather than asking themselves, how is this action affects the environment, including climate change? Absolutely, it's all about short-term profit, and it's extremely frustrating. It's extremely frustrating because the same people that are refusing to do anything are the ones who could possibly do something about this. Imagine if all these big businesses, all these corporations, all these billionaires actually instead said, okay, hold on, let's invest in the next generation of energy. Let's invest in new innovative technology that may create new jobs, that may create even more profit for us. If you just want to be that greedy and continue to worry about your dollar amount, whatever, then let's create new technology, new innovation, new science, and sell it. Why can't we be the leaders? But they're refusing to do that. It's like they're just drunk on this oil money, and it's really, really, really sad. It's really sad because at the end of the day, the generations ahead of us are the ones that are going to pay, not us. And maybe that's why they don't care. It's like, well, I'm not going to be here when it happens. Or they feel like they have the resources, aka money, so that when things do hit the fan, so that when stuff does hit the fan, they can just pay their way to safety. I mean, that idea is not too far-fetched, as we saw the brilliant mind of Ben Shapiro state that, oh, just sell the house. What's the big deal? You sell the house and you just buy another one, duh, because everybody can afford another house. Like, I don't know. It's extremely frustrating. It really is. And this is not something that is just going to go away. This is not something that if you just close your eyes, it goes away. It's not something that, oh, it'll be gone in 8 years like politicians, or, we can just vote them out. No. It's just like gravity. It's going to be there. And if you want to test that theory, go ahead. You'll find that you'll smack the ground real quick. The thing is that the economy is run mainly by big corporations, and they aren't going to worry about the environment. I fear that they'll be too late. Congress is not going to do anything about it either, because they are too busy worrying about how much money they can make, and it is a vicious circle. Absolutely, that's the problem. That is the problem. Everyone, the oil companies, the big industries have a stranglehold on the whole situation. So if you wanna break it down, you actually Dark Mages actually made a very good point. I guess the first thing you would start is to attempt to start taking money out of politics. That would be the first thing to start solving any of these issues. Not only just climate change, but healthcare, colleges, the infrastructure. You have to get money out of politics, because if not, nothing is going to change. Nothing's going to change. The real owners of this country, of this planet, really, because it's not just here. These are multinational, bajillion-dollar corporations. Pretty sure they have stakes in other countries too. It's not going to change unless we cut their power from politics, cut their money from politics. Money is power, so I guess one and the same. But yeah, you absolutely made a excellent point. To even begin to address this issue, you have to take money out of politics. And it's sad that big corporations do not care about this. They do not worry about this. They're just worried about short-term profit, not even thinking about long-term profit. I think just economically speaking, speaking from a business point of view, just doesn't make any sense. You want longevity in a business, but I don't know. I guess whatever brings in today's world, it's what I can get now. The problem has to start getting fixed from the top. If you do not make them realize the problem, and nothing will change. Yeah, absolutely. It's this mentality. Again, you make a very good point, Dark Mages. It's this mentality of it's not a problem until it's my problem. And I think the issue, here is that the people these big corporations, the top people, feel like they can just they have the resources to basically ride the storm out when climate change does start to hit the road here. X Fuel My Puddle, thank you so much for joining the stream. What is the political bias here? I tend to lean a little bit to the left. I consider myself a progressive. My main issues, or my main topics, I would say, are for the most part money and politics, healthcare, the climate. Those are like my huge issues for me. I just like oh man, a commie stream then, sure, if that's what you feel it is, even though I didn't say that. There's no political bias. We're simply talking about the problem, which honestly, another good point has been made here. Why is this even a political issue? It doesn't matter what side you're on. Climate change doesn't care if you are on the right, on the left. It doesn't care. It doesn't care. You can't go up to rising sea levels and be like, oh, wait, but I'm on the right. Don't affect me. It's gonna happen whether you like it or not. Whether you believe in it or not, the science is very clear. At Dark Mages, there's always bias. That is true in everything in life. It's not just politics, but in this situation, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what my bias is. It's gonna affect everyone, not just here, not just in the U.S. I'm just talking about worldwide. So it doesn't matter. Politics just happens to be a part of the issue. Yeah, everyone is using this also as a political crutch too. So it's just one big mess, and it starts with getting money out of politics, to be honest. That's just my take on it. Before I end the stream, as a business, you'd rather everyone else fix it while you continue to exploit game theory memes. Yeah, but I completely feel you. But that's a problem, though. That's a problem. That's not going to help. That's not going to help. So maybe, business is not the solution. I mean, maybe I'm too hopeful. Maybe I believe in people too much, but business is just, I guess, not going to solve this issue, like, at all. They could innovate technology, they could create awesome new jobs, but I guess not. I guess not. Maybe I'm too hopeful on that side. Before I end the stream, I'm just gonna leave you guys with a couple of thoughts. When our children's children look back on us, what are they gonna see? I mean, are we even gonna have a planet by then? I know it seems hyperbolic. I know it seems like everyone is just overly, going extra on it. But it is truly something that it is important. How are we going to continue to be able to live like this? I mean, it's just something that we have to address. Dark Mages says, if Congress can't even fix it, how do you expect business to fix it? That's true. That is very true. Again, maybe I'm just too hopeful. But regardless of political party, regardless of what you believe, the science is there. And the sad part is, it's being silenced. So I just want to continue speaking about this issue and to prove. Do you do any work with any political parties, or just talk about it on stream? No, I just talk about it on stream. I don't have any jobs with political parties at all. Just to give you an anecdotal story, my friend right now is doing a study on climate change, but he can't talk about it in political terms because he's afraid that this administration would cut his group's funding. That's what he's been told. That they can't be too political about it because of this administration. I mean, that just should say it all. Nothing wrong with LARPing. I mean, look, I enjoy it. I honestly enjoy talking about politics, and I enjoy just speaking as well. Dark Mages, no, you came in a bit late, but we're talking about politics, how politics affect climate change. Yes, that is true. So before I end the stream, just think about it. Think about the planet. Think about the future. Think about your children's children. Your children's children's children. If they matter, then you should consider what kind of planet you want to leave for them. Anyway, guys, unfortunately, that is all the time I have today. Thank you so much for joining. If you wish to keep up with the channel, drop a follow. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/ADifficultTruth. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/ADifficultTruthOfficial. You can listen to this particular episode on SoundCloud when I'm done uploading it, soundcloud.com/ADifficultTruth. And I'll go ahead and leave all the links. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that awesome stuff. I'll leave all the links in the description below, and I hope to see you guys in the next stream. See ya!
So caught up in the day-to-day, just keeping your head down and survive. We float by each other like ghosts every day, ignorant to the struggle, the fight with one another. Complacent with the fact that our systems are broken, with the fact that the top 10 will always be first in line, the fact that we are killing our planet and allowing them to keep us divided. We must stand together and rise up. It's time we wake up, and that is a difficult truth.